June 1776. The debate over America's political future has been pushed to the forefront. What once was considered an act of mutiny and treason now becomes a real possibility, even a destiny. America is talking about liberty.
Suddenly, in every tavern, in every meeting house, everywhere people congregate, they're talking seriously about this idea. Should we go for independence or not? And they're talking about the ideas that Paine expresses. We have a grand, robust national dialogue, such as we've never had before or since, around a central theme that meant everything to everybody.
The British are intent on stopping it. Having gathered their strength, they arrive in New York Harbor in dramatic fashion. With 130 warships and nearly 25,000 men, they put on a show designed to scare even the most avid rebel.
When the British come in the summer of 1776, it's like Star Wars. It's the Empire Strikes Back. It's the Death Star.
These multiple acres and acres of white sail coming into the harbor must really have been a sight to behold. This is the most powerful military nation on earth that is bringing that power to bear on you.
At his headquarters in Lower New York, Washington has a front row seat.
The enemy will endeavor to intimidate by show and appearance. But remember that with so just a cause, victory is most assuredly ours. General George Washington.
Outwardly, Washington shows a calm face. Yet inside, he knows that defending New York will be the greatest test he has known. The Virginia farmer, turned rebel leader, is out of his league.
Washington was faced with a tremendous task. He had no navy to speak of, and he was trying to protect a group of islands with hundreds of miles of shoreline against the world's most powerful naval force.
Miles away in Philadelphia, the reality of the situation is harder to take in. The great leaders of the Revolution, Ben Franklin, John Adams, John Hancock, see what they want to see: an army that has already stood up to the British. It pushes them to take the next step, the ultimate step, toward independence. A Virginia delegate, Richard Henry Lee, throws down the gauntlet.
Why do we longer delay? Why still deliberate? Let this happy day give birth to an American republic. If we are not this day wanting in our duty, the names of the American legislators of 1776 will be placed in posterity. Richard Henry Lee.
The time is now to make a declaration and commit it to paper. Congress turns to a young Virginia lawyer, a rising star in American politics. At 33 years old, Thomas Jefferson is the ideal American, bright, ambitious, and a gentleman.
Jefferson was a tall, slender, gentle, engaging man who wanted to be a scholar and never got a chance because he was such a good politician. Of all the revolutionaries, if I could sit with one at dinner, he'd be the one.
But Jefferson embodies America's deepest conflicts and contradictions. Having grown up on a wealthy Virginia plantation, he inherited aristocratic credentials and the 200 slaves to prove it. Yet Jefferson holds to an ideal America, a place of opportunity for everyone, a place where every American is in charge of his own fate. The child nation is growing up and longs to move beyond the shadow of its parent.
They had grown up and they wanted an independent say about how their laws were made and who governed them. And Jefferson knew all of that. He knew that he wasn't writing anything that was revolutionary in the eyes of his own people, only in the rest of the world.
Mid-June 1776. Armed with these notions and a deadline of 2 weeks, Jefferson locks himself into a Philadelphia boarding house.
He sat in one room in the July sweltering heat of Philadelphia with the flies buzzing all about him, and he forgot all of that, and he just sat down and he wrote and he wrote and he wrote out of his head.
When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for a people to advance from that subordination in which they have hitherto remained, the opinions of mankind impel them to the change. Thomas Jefferson.
It is a heady task for a fairly young mind. Every word must contain a reason to die for, every sentence an urgent cause to justify rising up against a king.
Think about it, the Declaration of Independence is a terribly radical document. That document says that if the government isn't treating you the way you think it should, and if you suffer this mistreatment over a period of time, you've got the right to rise up and destroy that government, to change it. That's a radical thing to say.
But Jefferson soon stumbles over the central question of the Revolution. It hangs in the hot air. Who will become a free American? In Britain, the elite legislated. Now, Jefferson's pen could reinvent all that. Would the new America mean rights for every man, woman, child, and even slave?
Who's in and who's out? Who's included? Does this mean everybody? Does this mean only the rich? Does this mean property holders? How far do we go? Who's included in this new nation?
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Jefferson reaches for the highest ideals, but the contradictions of his words come back to haunt him. Jefferson takes aim at slavery with scathing indictments of its wrongfulness. He puts them in his draft, yet falls short of calling for the end of slaveholding. Major battles are looming. Compromises must be made. In Philadelphia, his draft will soon be thrown to the varied interests in Congress. They will tear it apart. While in New York, the Continental Army prepares to put its life on the line for the dream of independence.